Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Anamkara Thursday night meditation program. And with all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program tonight. Tonight is chanting night, so we're going to get into the sweet sound of mantra and chanting. And it's really a practice of the heart, a practice of just pure love. So welcome to our program tonight, and we'll be getting into those chants in a few minutes. We're starting the program, as we always do, with the opening mantras, because the opening mantras are a way of invoking our highest nature. All the practices that we do is part of Anamkara, and really all the practices that are done across different spiritual traditions are ways of being able to both kind of calm the mind, separate our consciousness from identification with all the things in the mind, and then the clear light of the divine presence becomes obvious. It's right there all the time, in all times, in all places. That's what sat means when we say this is a satsang. It means keeping the company of the truth, sat. Well, the definition of the truth in the Vedic tradition, the yogic tradition, sat means that which is present and the same at all times, in all places. That's the infinite. That's the one. That is our highest self. And that's why one of the great statements from the ancient Vedas, what's called a Mahavakya, one of the great statements of truth is Tat Twam Asi, thou art that. Means you are that infinite one. That is your nature. So all that we do around practices is really to come home to that, to be able to regain the direct experience, the direct knowing of what's already fully present, but eludes our experience because we're so identified with the mind, its content, thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, things of the past, things of all that stuff. We know that stuff. So getting free of that is such delight. There's such love. There's such ecstasy. There's just profound domain of this infinite loving embrace of all that is, that's the truth of who we are, and that's what we're capable of knowing and experiencing, in addition to knowing what it is as our ordinary, or what's often described as our conventional self, that doesn't disappear. We add to it the infinitude. We add to it the fullness of our being. And so that's why in one of the mantras that we do is the opening mantra is Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. From the infinite comes the infinite, and the infinite remains. So from the divine, the infinite, comes the infinitude of creation and all its particulars, you and me and all the things that we perceive. And the infinitude, the fullness of the divine is undiminished. In fact, and it is everything that it creates, because it creates out of its own self. There is nothing else. So this is all one. So to come home to that vision, to come home to that direct experience and knowing, we do the practices. And so we'll begin with the opening mantras. And the opening mantras are also downloadable from the Anamkara Meditation Foundation website. So we'll begin with these mantras. Shri Mata Kali Devi Ki Jaya Gajananam Bhuta Ganari Sevitam Kapita Jambo Palacharu Bhakshanam Umasutam Chokam Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Parapankajam Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Purnamada Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Shri Mata Kali Mahadevi Ki Jai. So once again, with all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. You know, you're an embodiment of the infinite, the divine. Everything about you has but one source. To know that, we do the practices. But even without doing the practices, even without knowing it, it's true. It's who you are. It's who you've always been. And with that vision, we can really see the truth of that. Then we also see the loving nature of all that is, as ourself, everywhere, and everyone. So in this month of celebrations of the divine making itself known through lights, through beings born, attaining the highest, because this is the month where the Bodhi Day, the Enlightenment Day of Buddha occurs. We have Hanukkah and the celebration of the divine's gifts of grace, protection, and light. We have the divine coming in and taking form and celebrated in the Christian tradition as Jesus. I mean, this is a month where we're celebrating in so many ways revelation. But we need to know that revelation is happening every moment. Every moment is a revelation. The only reason why we don't perceive that is we're so caught up in the mind. But even the mind producing this thought and that thought and this thought and this feeling and this thing, that constant creative force, the energy behind that, is known as Shakti. It's pure consciousness. It's the power of the infinite to create endless forms. That's what it does. Endless forms. And it creates the form of the mind for knowing all those particular ones. The mind is an instrument that is able to break up the infinite so the parts can be known. Think of it like a prism, right? And you shine the white light of the sun through a prism and it breaks it up into a rainbow of light. Well, all those different colors, yeah, they're in the white light. Hits the prism, they seem to divide it all up. This is the mind. The pure consciousness, the unity consciousness, hits the mind and breaks up into these different colors and forms and infinite dance and play of creation. When we get all identified with those different particular forms, then we experience what it is to take on those limitations. And after a while, we notice that creates a lot of suffering for ourselves. And so we begin to be seekers, to want to know the source of all this. And that's where the practices come in. And tonight we'll be doing some chants of mantras. And mantras, as we've talked about many times, are a throb of that divine essence, creating these sort of sound forms in order to serve as a way for the mind to be able to have something it can engage in at its level. But now, mantra, unlike ordinary language, takes consciousness beyond the mind. Ordinary language of the mind takes consciousness into the mind and things born of the mind. Mantra takes us beyond the mind, back to the source of it all. And in that, we begin to notice the source of that is this loving quality. Shakti consciousness isn't just some awareness like you turn on a light and it lights up a room. No, it's this loving consciousness. That loving embrace of all that it is, all that it creates, all that it embraces as its own self. That's part of that consciousness. That's inseparable from that. The mind separates these things out, but they're not. So as we enter that, we begin to experience, that's why there's heart opening with that opening and development of consciousness, because with it comes all the love that embraces all, the compassion that embraces all, the equanimity that stands unshaken in the face of everything. These are irreducible qualities of our highest nature. And when we engage in mantra, we begin to get that, oh, mantras, it's like a love song. We're calling to our own self in love. And that mantra itself arose out of love, of the infinite's love for all that it has created, and saying, oh, here's the vehicle to come home to knowing union again. That's mantra. It's all about love. And because of that, I thought I would share a couple of poems from one of the great love poets of spirituality, Hafiz, and a great Sufi saint. And so his poetry is particularly sublime, and often I'm quoting that. So I thought, oh, this is a good night, because this is all about love. This is a poem that says, I follow barefoot. So Hafiz writes, I long for you so much. I follow barefoot your frozen tracks that are high in the mountains, that I know are years old. I long for you so much. Have even begun to travel where I have never been before. Hafiz, there is no one in this world who is not looking for God. Everyone is trudging along with as much dignity, courage, and style as they possibly can. Our longings, all our longings, are longing for the one. We think it's going to be satisfied in possessing this, having that, embracing this other thing. But all the longing only comes to rest in the divine. It can take lifetimes to finally know that, and then pursue skillfully to fan the flames of longing so that it burns away everything and all we long for. All we long for is God. Another Hafiz poem. Dear pilgrim, I love your shoes, your coat, your pants, your hat, your furry head, your cup, your bowl, your messy closets, and most of all, I cherish your cute ears. Why? Don't ask. Just speak what you love about me. Come closer if you are feeling a little timid today or dense. Because surely you would find something very endearing about Hafiz. And then we can pass many years talking so silly, like two highly advanced aspirants, or like two emaciated holy vagrants, who are sharing his bottle of truth and feeling so damn good and drunk and free. Love, that's what sets us free. Love is the very nature of the divine. That's why it said God is love. To have the experience of the living presence of the divine, to experience love. So Hafiz writes, the subject tonight is love. And for tomorrow night as well, as a matter of fact, I know of no better topic for us to discuss until we all die. Love. Love. It's all about love. The mind can get caught in all these other things that it finds interesting. But the heart knows. The heart knows. It's all about love. The heart isn't happy until it knows to love. So when we long for someone, it's that longing comes out of love. And it's not satisfied until we're in the company of our beloved. The beloved is the divine, the infinite, the one, known by so many different names, and so many different forms, and so many different traditions. But it's all about coming home to the love, the divine, that pervades all. And that's what chanting is really about, is coming home to that truth of who we are. And so we're going to be starting tonight with the mantra known as the world mantras that is on the chanting CD that we put out a few years ago. And every tradition has its ways of calling on the name of the divine, of seeing that sound form of the infinite that invokes it, so we can have the direct experience and keep the company of the divine. And so the world mantras are the great mantras from different traditions, right? And so it starts out with Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya means I bow to the auspicious one, the infinite, the divine. And Om Kali Durga Ma, Om Kali Durga Ma. Kali Durga Ma, the divine feminine, the great mother, known in every tradition. Ma. So we'll call on her. And then we have the great Buddhist mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Hail the jewel in the lotus. What's the jewel in the lotus? The living presence of the infinite, the Buddha. Pervades your very being, is your very being. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And then the feminine inflection of that. Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Soha. Great mantra of Tara, the feminine face of the Buddha. And that in particular of Red Tara, whose picture, right, is over here. Om Taritam Soha. So we call on her. And Tara is the one who leaps forward to relieve the suffering of all beings. And Red Tara to bring to the seeker whatever they need to get free. Get free of what? Free of the illusion of being the mind, of being the false self. Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Soha. And then from Islam, La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. That's all it means. There is no God but God. There's just this one God, this one infinite, this one divine. That was Hafiz's experience. Pervades everything. So we call upon that. And in the Jewish tradition, Ein od milvado. Ein od milvado. Comes from the Kabbalistic tradition. It means there is nothing that is not God. There is nothing that is not God. What a radical view of the world. But it's the truth. In the ancient Shaivite tradition, it says the same thing. Na shivam vidyate kvachit. There is nothing that is not the consciousness of the auspicious one. There's nothing that is not Shiva. So we know this. The same truth is at the very pinnacle of the highest understanding from every tradition, non-dual. This is all there is. It's all you are. There's nothing about you that isn't that. So when we start to recognize that, then we can go Om Namah Shivaya to every thought, or Om Kali Ma to every thought. Everything that's arising is that. It's that. And Kyrie eleison, right? The Greek invocation of Lord, have mercy on us. Lord, have mercy. Have great boundless compassion. It's like calling on Tara and her compassion. This is the compassionate one. Divine's infinite compassion to set us free. And then Sancta Maria, Mater Dei. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei. Blessed Mother Mary, Mother of God. Mother of God. Any form that takes birth, any form, comes through the feminine. That's why Shakti, the great goddess, is celebrated as the one who gives birth to the entire universe. All issues forth from her womb. So we chant these mantras, and then afterwards we'll just sit in the stillness for a while. So that stillness is the fruit of mantra. All mantras arise out of stillness, dissolve into stillness. So when we have our mind truly enter the mantra, really become absorbed in the chant, then it becomes quieter and quieter. And in that quiet, in that stillness, we can perceive what's already there, your own divine self. Tat Twam Asi. So, here we'll begin. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Kalindurge Ma. Om Kalindurge Ma. Om Kalindurge Ma. Om Kalindurge Ma. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Taritam Soha. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ainon milvadon. Ainon milvadon. Ainon milvadon. Ainon milvadon. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Sancta Maria. Sancta Maria. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Daritam Soha. Om Daritam Soha. Om Daritam Daritam Soha. Om Daritam Daritam Soha. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ainod milvandom. Ainod milvandom. Ainod milvandom. Ainod milvandom. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Sancta Maria. Sancta Maria. Mater Dei. Mater Dei. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Kali Durge Ma. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Daritam Soha. Om Daritam Soha. Om Daritam Daritam Soha. Om Daritam Daritam Soha. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ainod milvandom. milvando, ainod milvando, ainod milvando, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Sancta Maria, Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, Mater Dei, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Dharitam Soha, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, Ainod milvando, Ainod milvando, Ainod milvando, Ainod milvando, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Sancta Maria, Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, Mater Dei, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Dhari Anod milvando Kyrie eleison, Santa Maria, Santa Maria, Mater Dei, Mater Dei. Oh, Mother of God, you've given us so many forms, so many ways to come home. So now we'll be invoking her through Tara mantra. Jai Jai Tarama, Jai Jai Tarama. Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Soha. Jai Jai Tarama, oh Jai Jai Tarama, oh Jai Jai Tarama, oh Jai Jai Tarama, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha. Jai Jai Tarama, oh Jai Jai Tarama, oh Jai Jai Tarama, oh Jai Jai Tarama, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha, Om Dharitam Soha. Jai Jai Dharma, oh Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama ho Jai Tarama Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha Om Daritam Soha The next chant is again to Tara, but a different form of Tara. So it's Om Tare Tu Tare Tore Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tore Soha. An invocation of what's known as green Tara. And that's an inflection of the divine feminine that leaps forward to heal, to remove suffering. Our whole planet is suffering. All beings on this planet, all living things on this planet are suffering. So we call on Tara to leap forward, to help heal the planet, to heal all beings, to change what's going on, to remove suffering. So who is that? Who's going to show up? You. You're Tara. This is invoking our nature to leap forward, to help remove the suffering of others. We're invoking our highest nature, our boundless compassion, our boundless love, our boundless patience, to dive into all the problems and be present and endeavor to relieve the suffering of everyone, and to keep coming back until all suffering has been removed. Om Tare Tu Tare Tore Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tore Soha. Your own sublime, infinitely loving, kind, compassionate nature. That's what this invokes. That's what's so needed now throughout the world. Om Tare Tu Tare Tore Soha. 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 Om Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re 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 Soha. So now we simply sit in the stillness, in the silence. In the silence, where we come to know the truth, the living presence, the one, pervades your heart, pervades your body, pervades the mind, pervades the world, pervades the universe. Known by so many names, but truly known in silence and stillness. And we'll close with the chant of Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. I bow to the auspicious one, the divine within everything, all beings, all creation. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. So we end with this prayer. And may all our practices truly benefit everyone. And may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. So chanting the divine names, chanting the mantras, invoking our highest nature, bringing it into the world, both through the chants and the mantras, and as well as walking it in as your own sublime self. So in this time when we're especially celebrating revelation and how many ways that the divine has entered into our world and revealed itself, we do the practices to live in that revelation, to live in that presence, and carry it into the world moment by moment, day by day, in our everyday actions. So continue to do the practices. We won't be meeting next week, as it's Christmas Eve, but the following week, on New Year's Eve, we will be meeting and doing the practices and chanting and ending the year on the highest note and carrying that truth and that knowledge and that direct experience into the new year. So between now and then, keep coming home to the self, keep coming home to the living presence of the divine, and walking that into the world day by day. I thank you so much for coming here this evening and bringing the power of your practices, bringing the power of your intention, the many ways that you walk it into the world. I thank you for being you, the embodiment of the divine, and bringing the truth of that into the world that you live in. And so keep your practices strong. Keep that presence strong. So once again, with all my heart, with all my love, thank you for coming this evening. And thank you for the many ways that you support Anam Cara, through your donations, through sharing our e-newsletter and our YouTube channel. They all help us do our seva, our selfless service of just trying to make this available to everyone. So with all my heart, thank you. Thank you. Namaste.